Have you ever heard the saying, even the sun has spots? It's a reminder that nobody is perfect, not even the most respected and beloved leaders. Today, I want to share a fascinating story from ancient times about a king who was almost perfect and the clever minister who dared to point out his one tiny flaw. It's a tale about wisdom, humility, and the true meaning of justice. In a prosperous kingdom long ago, there reigned a king renowned for his fairness and wisdom. People called him the just king. He treated everyone, from the highest noble to the humblest farmer, with equal respect and compassion. His kingdom flourished. His people were happy. And his name was celebrated far and wide. He seemed to be the ideal ruler in every single way. The king had a council of ministers, but among them, one stood out for his exceptional intelligence and courage. This was his prime minister, a man who was not only a brilliant advisor, but also a true friend to the king. The king trusted his judgment above all others, and they often spent hours discussing matters of state, philosophy, and life. One day, during a grand feast in the royal court, the hall was filled with music, laughter, and the finest food. The king, in a cheerful mood, turned to his prime minister and asked, "My dear friend, you have served me for many years. You have seen me make countless decisions, both big and small. Tell me honestly, what is your true opinion of me as a ruler?" The entire court fell silent. Everyone leaned in, eager to hear the minister's response. They all expected a string of praises, a flowery speech about the king's greatness. But the prime minister, after a moment of thoughtful silence, looked the king directly in the eye and said, "Your Majesty, you are a truly great king. You are wise, compassionate, and your dedication to justice is unmatched. In all aspects of governance, you are nearly perfect." The king smiled, pleased with the answer. "Nearly perfect?" he repeated. "I appreciate your honesty. But tell me, what is this one thing that prevents me from being completely perfect in your eyes?" The prime minister hesitated for a second, then spoke calmly but firmly. "Your Majesty, there is only one flaw I see. You have a bit of a temper. When you get angry, even for a moment, your judgment can be clouded. It's a small flaw, but for a king, even a small flaw can have big consequences." A gasp went through the hall. The other ministers and nobles looked horrified. How dare he criticize the king so openly? The king's smile vanished, his face darkened, and his eyes narrowed. For a moment, the very anger the minister had spoken of flashed across his face. The air grew thick with tension. You could have heard a pin drop. The king stared at his minister, his voice low and dangerous. "A temper, you say? You dare to stand before me and my entire court and accuse me of having a temper?" He stood up from his throne, his fists clenched. "For this insult, I sentence you to death. Guards, take him away." The clever minister didn't flinch. He didn't beg for his life. Instead, he simply smiled a sad, knowing smile. As the guards approached to seize him, he looked at the king and said, "Your Majesty, I am ready to accept my fate. But before I die, I want to thank you." The king was taken aback. "Thank me? For what? For sentencing you to death?" "No, Your Majesty," the minister replied, his voice clear and steady for all to hear. "I want to thank you for proving my point. My words were just words, but your actions, in this very moment, have shown everyone the truth of what I said." Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. The king froze, his hand still raised. The minister's words hit him like a lightning bolt. He looked at his own clenched fists at the fear in the eyes of his courtiers, and at the calm, resolute face of his most loyal friend. And in that instant, his anger evaporated, replaced by a flood of shame and realization. He slowly lowered his hand and sank back onto his throne. He saw it all clearly now. The minister hadn't insulted him. He had held up a mirror. He had risked his own life not out of malice, but out of loyalty, to show the king a truth he couldn't see himself. It was the bravest, most loyal act anyone had ever done for him. The king took a deep breath, and when he spoke again, his voice was filled with humility. "Release him," he commanded the guards. He then turned to his prime minister, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You are right," he said, his voice echoing through the silent hall. "You are absolutely right. I let my anger control me, and I nearly committed the greatest injustice of my reign. You are not only my most clever minister, but also my truest friend, from that day forward." The king made a conscious effort to control his temper. Whenever he felt anger rising, he would remember the minister's brave words and his own foolish reaction. He learned to pause, to breathe, and to think before he acted. The incident became a famous story in the kingdom, a lesson not about the king's flaw, but about his wisdom in accepting criticism and his greatness in his willingness to change. The king and his clever minister continued to rule together for many more years, their bond of trust and respect stronger than ever. The king was still known as the just king, but now his justice was tempered with even greater wisdom and self-control. This story teaches us such a powerful lesson. It's not about being perfect, because no one is. It's about having the humility to recognize our flaws and the courage to work on them. It is also about the value of true friends, the ones who aren't afraid to tell us the hard truths for our own good. Who is that person in your life? Maybe take a moment to appreciate them today. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this story with me. If you enjoyed this tale and the lessons it holds, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that make you think. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the king and his minister. See you in the next video.